Greetings in the name of Yahwah, the only name under heaven given among men, whereby we must be saved. And we do appreciate each and every one of you watching this video. And we believe it to be a real blessing to you. What we're going to be teaching on is the corruption, the error of the Lunar Sabbath teaching. Going over to the book of Ezekiel, the 46th chapter. Of course, we're reading from a red letter edition King James Bible. King James Bible says, "Thus saith the Lord God." In Hebrew, it's known as Adonai Yahwah. "The gate of the inner court that looketh towards the east shall be shut 6 working days. But on the Sabbath it shall be open. And in the day of the new moon it shall be open." Now this Ezekiel 46:1 is one of the main teachings or the main scriptures for the Lunar Sabbath. And the reason why is this. Reading from a little paper that come out of a pamphlet, it says the weekly 7th-day Sabbath of the Scripture is always observed on the same days of the moon each month. And that is on the 8th, 15th, 22nd, and the 29th. It says here that the author offers a $10,000 reward to anyone who can pinpoint a weekly Sabbath on any other day other than by the new moon. One other little pamphlet says these weekly Sabbaths fall on set days, fixed days, or sets on. It says here falls on set or fixed days of the moon, namely the 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th. Now I'm going to draw maybe just for the first 8 days of a lunar Sabbath so you can understand where we're going to be coming from. The new moon, for example, comes in. That would be known as the day of the new moon. This would be your first day. Now I'm going to set this up using a Gregorian calendar 7-day cycle, because this is how the lunar Sabbaths do their teaching out of a Gregorian calendar. Day 1, if a new moon, matter of fact, I'm going to put new moon abbreviated here. It's new moon, first day of the month. This first day of the month starts off, is the first day of the month starting off. The second day of the month, or the second day of the moon, is always the first work day. This is where your week starts. And then you would have your third day, which is part of the week. And then your fourth day, which is part of the week. And then 5th, 6th, 7th. So this here is a work day, which starts, the second day is the first day of the week. Also, it would be the first day as a work day. And then 3 work day, and the 4th, 5th, 6th, and the 7th. And then the 8th day is always going to be the Sabbath. Now I'm setting this up in a Gregorian calendar form, because this is how the lunar Sabbaths set their months up, using a 7-day cycle, using a Gregorian calendar. They'll say they don't do it, but I'm going to prove something to you here in just a few minutes. So remember, the second day of the month is always the first day of the week. It becomes the first work day. Then you have your 6 work days, and then you have your Sabbath. Let's say that if a new moon, and let's do it like this. Let's just say that it come in on a Sunday. And then here's a Monday. And then here's a Tuesday. Here's a Wednesday. Here's a Thursday. Here's a Friday. And here is a Saturday. Let's say that the new moon come in on a Wednesday. That means that all your Sabbaths, your 8s, 15s, 22s, and 29s would be on a Wednesday. If a new moon come in on a Friday, the same thing. So, ever what day it comes in, it works the same way. Remember, the second day is the first day that starts the week. It is also when the work day starts. So you have 6 work days, and then the Sabbath, which falls on the 8th. So again, you would have 1, 8, 15, 22s, and 29s, regardless of what day it would fall on. The question is, why do the lunar Sabbaths use a Gregorian calendar? And that's what we're fixing to find out. All right, now here is a calendar that was sent to me from a lunar Sabbath believer or a teacher. Now, in August of 2011, the new moon actually fell on what you would call a Sunday. But remember, I want you to look at this. This is a lunar Sabbath believer, a teacher, that has used a Gregorian calendar. Why do they use that? So all of their Sabbaths now of that month, right here, shows new moon, the 8th day, the 15th day, the 22nd, 29th. And I could flip pages and show you of which day, and it works the same way. Now, once you really begin to look at this, why does the lunar Sabbath teachers that are so against a Gregorian calendar, here is a Gregorian calendar that you can buy at the store. This is a lunar Sabbath Gregorian calendar. Same thing. Saturday through Sunday. Same thing. 7-day week. 7-day week, both of them. All right, let me erase this off. And we're going to look at a 7-day cycle. We're going to look at a 7-day cycle. Okay, now I'm going to use a 7-day cycle. I'm going to use this Gregorian calendar. The only difference is, when we go to Genesis, we find in the book of Genesis what is known as Yom Echad. And in Genesis, day 1 would be like this, known in Hebrew as Yom Echad. And then you had your 2nd day, then your 3rd day, and then your 4th day, and then your 5th day, and your 6th day, and your 7th day. So you had Yom Echad all the way to Yom HaShavi'i, which is known as the 7th day. Now, in the beginning, in Genesis, Yahweh set up a 7-day cycle. Now, can you imagine trying to get an 8-day cycle in this? And you'll understand here in just a few minutes where we're coming from. Now, this 7-day cycle, now we're going to take the 7-day cycle. We know that in Genesis, the light started on the 1st day. We know that the heavens were on the 2nd day. The 3rd day, when the earth come in. And on the 4th day, according to Scripture, the greater light, lesser light, and the stars begin to have dominion. They begin to rule. But the light started here. But the material for the light didn't start till here. Remember, you didn't have a heaven till the 2nd day, and earth till the 3rd day. So what Yahweh set up was 7 days. This is what you have. You have day 1, which is a work day. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the 6 work days that Yahweh set up. Here is Yom HaShavi'i, the 7th day. This is the day that Yahweh blessed. Right here. This is the day that Yahweh blessed. Sanctified. Now, if I'm going to keep up with that, and people, the lunar Sabbaths, try to use a calendar to belittle it, to throw off the 7th day cycle, and say that the calendars are wrong. Let's lay the calendars aside right now. Here is the 7th day that Yahweh blessed. The 7th day right here. In the 2nd week of creation. Or we can do it this way. Go to the 2nd month of creation. And then we'd already have our earth would have already started. Because remember, in the first of creation, the earth didn't come until the 3rd day. But the light, the evening, morning, the Arab, Voker, evening, Arab, Voker morning, started here on day 1. And it took evening, morning, evening, morning, evening, morning, evening, morning, evening, morning. And you know what you have? You have the earth in a spin. It takes the earth 24 hours. But at that particular time in Genesis, you didn't have no earth spinning. But you did have the light. So the lights had to work within 24-hour period as a continual. But just to say this would be the 2nd month. So in the 2nd month, we're just going to start over. Let's just say that our 2nd month, or any month of the time that we're living now, you're always going, all of our dates, just like, let me give you an example. This is using a calendar that is done in 2012. Now, this calendar that's used 2012, Sunday would actually represent Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Just like when you look at a Gregorian calendar, you will find in May of 2012, you have day 1 on a, on the Tuesday, on the 2nd. The 3rd day of Yahweh's week would be day 1. And we understand that having a Gregorian calendar, but remember, Yahweh set up a 7-day cycle before there was a Gregorian calendar. If you go back and do any studying, the Gregorian calendar is a known fact. When you go back, you find out that it goes back to the Julian calendar. I don't have time on this broadcast, but maybe in the future to come, you find that your Sabbath day was the same Sabbath that the Julian calendar, when it was set up using that Israel happened to fall on, in other words, their Saturday or Saturn fell on the same cycle as the weekly Sabbath that Israel done. This same calendar was taken even up to the time of the Messiah. But remember, you have a 7-day cycle that man has given 7 names. There's no doubt that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, all the way through Saturday are pagan names. The argument's not that. This is a 7-day cycle. It works. But let's say that here's a 7-day cycle. What would start the 7-day cycle over for the 2nd week? It would be day 8. Now I'm just using this as an example right now. So this here would be the 1st week, first 7 days. Then the 8th would start the 2nd week off. And then you would have the 3rd week and 4th week. the 8th day that starts off, you have 8 days in a 7-day cycle. There's a difference. You can have 16 days in a 7-day cycle. You can have 30 days in a 7-day cycle. But the 7-day cycle is always continual. Your Sabbath will always, regardless of what day the new moon falls on, the 7th day will always be the day that Yahweh blessed and sanctified and kept. From Genesis to now, surely Yahweh can keep up with His own day. So again, why does the Lunar Sabbath teaching use a Gregorian calendar? Remember, the 8th day is the 2nd day of the week using a Gregorian calendar. Now, I'm going to set it up as a Lunar Sabbath calendar. This is, again, how they do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the 8th day. Now, if you get looking at that, what is the difference between this and this? The Lunar Sabbath is calling this their new moon. This is their Lunar Sabbath. What is the difference? The 8th day starts the 2nd week off. If you look at this and examine this, something is wrong. I'll give you an example. Look at day 1. Day 1 is the starting point for the 7-day cycle. The 2nd day, 3rd day, 4th day, 5th day, 6th day, and the 7th day ends that 7-day cycle. In other words, the 1st day and the 2nd day cannot be on the same 24 hours. Neither can the 3rd day be on the same 24 hours at 1 and 2. Same way with 4. It can't be on 1, 2, and 3. It just goes all the way through. Neither can 7 be on 1. Neither can 7 be on 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Because the 7th day ends a 7-day cycle. The 1st day starts the 7-day cycle. In a 7-day cycle, the way Yahweh set it up, all of your days, all of your months, all of your years, and all of prophecy is going to work within the 7 days that Yahweh blessed and sanctified within that week. The 7th day that Yahweh blessed. Everything is going to work within this 7-day cycle. Now, when you get looking at that, now how and why does the Lunar Sabbath use a Gregorian calendar? And this is why. Because by doing this, and what I was reading a while ago about the new moon, and about what I was reading about in Ezekiel 46 and 1, they believe that the new moon, that all of their Sabbaths, 8, 15, 22, and 29, will fall on the same day that the new moon comes in. Who started the Lunar Sabbath teaching evidently just did not know what they were really doing. What's this? Let me show you what a real 8-day cycle is. This. Nearly a year and a half ago, or pretty close 2 years ago, give or take, Yahweh spoke to me and said, get the 8-day cycle out of the 7-day cycle, out of a 7-day calendar form, and you'll see it. So when I began to look at that, matter of fact, I literally started laughing, giggling. Then I just dropped my head and I said, Yahweh, how have I been so stupid by not catching this? When I understood what he was saying, I understood the 7-day cycle started at 1, ended at 7. That the 7-day cycle started at 1, ended at 7. That the 8-day cycle starts at 1, ends at 8. Like right here and here. This would be a new moon. But you can't take 8 24 hours, stick them in 7 24 hours, that has only 7 names. Remember, they have taken a 7-day cycle and named it Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So, what the lunar Sabbaths have done, they have used a Gregorian calendar all this time without really understanding that you got 24 hours. Give you an example. Day 1 would start, the whole earth would spin around, and you have a 24 hours. This would be your first 24 hours, second 24 hours, third 24 hours, fourth 24 hours, fifth 24 hours, sixth 24 hours, seventh 24 hours. A 7 24 hours, if you're going to have a 7-day cycle, it started at 1, ended at 7. But this is an 8-day cycle. So you would have one more 24-hour cycle, which would give you 8 24 hours. So you would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 24 hours. But when Yahweh began to speak to me and begin to let me understand, and when He had spoke to me about getting the 8-day cycle out of a 7-day, and they set their forms up like this, get the 8-day cycle out of a 7-day cycle, out of a 7-day calendar form. I want to show you something before I go to the next thing here. Here, if the 8th day starts the 2nd week off, and the first week starts here, ends here in a 7-day cycle. In an 8-day cycle, the first day starts here, but their week don't start to here. But their cycle already set up for this day. This is the 2nd day of the month, or 2nd day of the moon. This is the 3rd day of the month, or 3rd day of the moon. This is the 8th day of the month, or what you can call 8th day of the moon. In other words, it's 8 24 hours. So what would start that cycle back off? 9. The 9th day. This is why the lunar Sabbath will not set their cycles up. What they're trying to do, most of them, will set it up like this and put a 9 here as if you can take day 1 and just throw it out. But when Yahweh moved on me and showed me to get the 8-day cycle out of a 7-day cycle, out of a 7-day calendar form, and let me show you what He meant. Watch this. Yahweh Almighty knows what He's talking about. I'm going to set up, first of all, a 7-day cycle. I'm going to put each one of these zeros are going to represent the earth. It would take that earth to circle around for one 24-hour day. And then this here, that would be, as a matter of fact, I'm going to start here as being day 1. And then you would have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then here would be 7. In other words, here would be, let me start it this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now when this cycle starts back over, this is the same cycle that's here. This same cycle starts back over. It would go 1, or you could go 8, which starts your 2nd week off. Remember, your first week started here, ended here. The 2nd week would be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Not that we're trying to wind up on 8s and 14s and so forth, but I'm setting up a cycle. So what do you have again? You have the same Sabbath preserved. Go into your 3rd week. It works the same way. The 3rd week works the same way. Remember, the 4th week works the same way. You know what you're doing? You're keeping the same day that God will bless and sanctify. Now, what's the 8th day cycle? I'm going to start right here. This is going to be day 1. This is when their new moon would come in. It takes the earth to spin around one complete 24 hours. That would be the first day, known as the new moon. Let me write it right here. Abbreviate it here. And then this would be the second day. And then here would be the third day. And then here would be the fourth day. Remember, this earth having to go through a full 24-hour evening mornings. Then this would be the fifth day. Then this would be the sixth day. This would be the seventh day. This would be set up here. But a lunar Sabbath has 8 days. Here is your 8th day. This here would be their Sabbath. The new moon, 6 working days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then their Sabbath. What's this? In their next cycle that would start their second week off, remember their first week started, the new moon was here, but the first week started here though. They try to throw this new moon out. It's utterly impossible to throw a cycle, a day out. Just toss it out. Because the new moon has set up the second day, third day, fourth day. When you go back, the 8th day is the 8th day from the first day. So you can't throw it out. So the cycle's going to start back over. The 9th day would start their second week off. Just like the 8th day starts the second week off in a 7-day calendar. Then you would have the 10th day, 11th day, 12th day, 13th day, 14th day, 15th day, and then your 16th. Remember, their Sabbaths are supposed to, their 8s, 15s, and 22s are always, and 29s are always supposed to fall on the day of the new moon. It's impossible. It's totally impossible. Because day 1 starts the cycle for a 7th day. It ends on the 7th day. An 8-day cycle would start on the 8th day, or on the first day, and on the 8th day, it would end that cycle. Remember, here's the new moon, and here's their Sabbath on 2 entirely different 24-hour days. So what do you have? Once I got it out of the calendar form, you can even do this. Once I understood this, you can go back and even understand that your 7th day, first of all, in their second week only has 7 days in it. It doesn't have 8. But you can't throw it out. You can't throw one of the days, just toss it out. This is why they cannot use and set them up a calendar. The new moon would be the first day. The second day starts off their work week. Then you have the Sabbath. But what starts off their second week, the 9th day would come on the new moon, or the week, or 9 days before that, or 8 days before that, or really 9 days, would have been a new moon. Let's give you an example. If a new moon comes in on a Sunday, or Wednesday, or ever what, they say that the new moon, they're not counting it again. But the thing is, if it come in on a Wednesday, that means that the second Wednesday would be a Sabbath, but the Wednesday before that would have been a new moon. So they didn't throw the day out. If they did, they would have to take Wednesday, throw it out, or if a new moon come in on a Thursday, they would have to throw that out. So there's really, even in their own teaching, they're not throwing out. It's just delusion of speech is all they're doing. What has happened here? The new moon, the 24-hour day that the new moon come in on, becomes a work day. In the second week, the work day of the first week becomes a Sabbath. In the second week, the Sabbath that was in the first week becomes a work day. And if you keep running this all the way around, you know what you'll have? You'll have the new moon and the 8th day on 2 totally different 24-hour days. Then, if we started this way, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, let me move this 16 out of the way right quick, and 15. So really, only in the second week can they start using a Gregorian calendar, because the second week only has 7 days in it. But you cannot come right here and throw that out. They don't do it. I challenge any one of them anywhere to disprove what I'm saying. If a new moon come in on a Monday, the next Monday would be when they're the Sabbaths. They even teach this on, that's why they got a $10,000 reward. They're saying that the day of the new moon, if it come in on a Monday, Tuesday, or ever what, it might not be called the new moon in the second Monday, because the first Monday of that week would have been, or in the Gregorian calendar, would have been the new moon. 8 days later, the same 24 hours becomes a Sabbath. So that's how they set up all their Sabbaths. So if they're going to do any throwing out, ever what day, let's say if the new moon comes in on a Monday, throw Monday out then. Don't use it no more the rest of that month. Once you begin to understand this is what you have. You have the new moon and the first Sabbath on 2 entirely different 24 hours. And let me set this up why I'm doing this. Let me show you something as this falls out. You can do this your own self. You can do this your own self. First of all, you've got to understand cycles. You've got to understand that if you have a 6-day cycle, let me give you an example. 6 days. That right there's a 6-day cycle. It started here, ended here, and the 7th day would be what would start the 6th day off. Or the 6-day cycle back off again. If you've done it with any other cycle, if you had a 5-day, you'd do the same thing. The cycle would stop here, start here, stop here. There's no way what starts it and stops it can be on the same 24-hour days. That's because they've been teaching in their books that they don't count the new moon day. If they're not going to count it, then ever what day it comes in, don't use it no more that month. All right, this is what I want to show you. Once you set it up this way, do you know what happens? Since you can't throw cycles out, day 16. What do you have? You have a new moon. In the first cycle, becomes a work day in the second week. The work day in the first cycle becomes the Sabbath, the 15th. And the 8th day in the first cycle, or the first Sabbath, was on the 8th. But now, it becomes a work day. And as you continue this same cycle, this is what you wind up having. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Now watch. 25, 26, 27, 28, and 29. Let's just say you had 29 days that month. What do you got? That was your first Sabbath in the first cycle. This is the second Sabbath on a different 24 hours. Here's your third Sabbath on a total different 24 hours than what they were. And here's the 29th day Sabbath, which is, you got 1, 2, 3, 4 different 24-hour days for their Sabbath. So what you have with the new moon, you have the new moon and the 4 Sabbaths on 4 entirely different 24-hour days. Let's just say that you went as far as this. You weren't even going to count nothing else. Do you know what the problem is? You have a new moon and a Sabbath, and your $10,000 reward, somebody can collect it. Do you know what else? They have tried to throw this stuff out, and you can't do it. I challenge anyone, anywhere, any Lunar Sabbath group will come to any group, anywhere, and back up what we're believing. Prove it. And all I've done was read one verse. They're using Sabbaths. They're making days that are Sabbaths in the feast that are not Sabbath days. Some say that they have 72 pinpointed weekly Sabbaths. And I can tell you right now, they don't do it. I can tell you right now they don't. First of all, this here is an embarrassment to the Lunar Sabbath. This here, by being here and here, totally comes against Ezekiel 46:1. Remember, their whole teaching is the new moon is what sets up their days, and the new moon, every what day it comes in on, all the Sabbaths. Once you get that cycle set up right, just go into 15. The new moon in your 8th day is on 2 24-hour days. Different. And your new moon becomes a work day, and your work day in the second week becomes a Sabbath. That's just starting here. The truth cannot be cornered up. This video, I hope that you'll share this video with anyone, anywhere. And I've just started on it. There is a whole lot more that we have dove into, found out that that most of their days they're calling Sabbaths are not Sabbath days. They're trying to build on feast days. But again, my whole point is to prove that the new moon and the 8th day are on 2 entirely different 24-hour days. When this Lunar Sabbath teaching started, it started doing what I was telling you, trying to use the 7-day cycle so you would have 1, 8, 15, 22s, and 29s. Truthfully, this is an embarrassment. Their own teaching, they don't even use an Gregorian calendar, their own teaching. They don't even keep the same Sabbath that was set up. In other words, the 7-day Gregorian calendar that we have misses up because you can't take 8 24 hours, put them in 7 24 hours. You don't have enough of days, and you don't have enough of names. So, we pray that you'll study this. Share this video with anyone. We believe that Yahwah blessed and sanctified a particular day. And that day was known as Yom HaShaviti, not the 8th day. Can you imagine trying to get started in Genesis with this? Like I said, we'll come to any Lunar Sabbath teaching and we'll prove what we're saying. In any verse they want to back up, try to back up, they have no verses. First of all, they can't even get started in Genesis. They can't even get their cycles set up right. So remember the address and telephone number that probably will be on the video. So till the next time, shalom.